Hello and welcome to the first session on this fifth module of analysis of determinate structures. So I welcome all the fourth semester students of civil engineering to this fifth module, that is arches and cable structures. So today we are going to learn about arches and cable structures. So the contents are divided into two parts. So first we shall learn about arches and then we will take up our cable structures. So first let us take up the contents of arches. So in this we are going to learn about introduction, the different types of arches, three-hinged arch, elements of an arch, what are the conditions of equilibrium that are to be applied, and sign convention to be followed, and normal thrust and radial shear, and analysis of three-hinged arch. So let us take up the introduction. So an arch is a curved beam with convexity upwards. So if you consider this as a horizontal beam, and if you try to make this in the shape of a curved beam, okay, so this is an arch, okay, whose convexity is in the upward direction. So this is the shape, the arch, okay, which is curved in the it is a curved beam with its convexity in the upward direction, okay. So to keep this arch in this position, you have to apply force in the horizontal direction, okay. So you have to push it in both the directions so that it has to retain its shape, okay. So that's why the horizontal movement at the support is restrained, okay. So that means at these points, these are the supports, okay, at these points the movement of the arch is restrained or it is restricted. Why it is restricted means we have this reaction components, therefore the horizontal movement of the arch is restrained, okay. So next, it spans over an opening, okay. So either it spans over the window opening, or if you take up the arches of a bridge structure, it will be spanning over a valley or a rivers, okay. So therefore it will be normally spanning over a spans over an opening, and it also supports the weight of the wall or any other superimposed loads, okay. So over this arch, the loads of walls or other superimposed loads will be acting, okay. So that is about an arch, okay. Why? So what is an arch means? It is a curved beam with convexity upwards and whose horizontal movement is restrained due to the horizontal reactions, okay, and it spans over an opening. Then and also it's the arch supports the weight of the wall and other superimposed loads. So that is the introductory part. So next we will move to the types of arches. So here we are not going to go in detail about the types of arches because you have already learned about the arches in BMCT subject, okay. So let us take up a glance on the different types of arches. So the types of arches are classified on the materials of construction that are used and structural behavior, and then it is classified on the basis of shape of the arch, okay. So first we will have a look at the different types of construction materials that are used. So first one is stone arch. So in which the arch is constructed using stones, okay. And we have next one is brick arch. So the arch is constructed with the help of bricks. And then steel arch. So here the arch is made up of steel. And next one is RCC or reinforced cement concrete arch. So wherein the arch is made up of concrete, okay. Either it may be pre-stressed or normally in these days we are going for pre-stressed arches, and or it may be conventional concrete, okay. So these stone arch and brick arch will be restricted for smaller spans. Okay, so the opening is restricted here. For longer openings, you have to go for either RCC or steel arch. Okay, so these are preferred for bridges, whereas these for either a window or door openings normally. So these are preferred for bridge structures. So next, with the continuation of different types of arches. So the types of arches on the basis of structural behavior. So it is classified as a two-hinged arch. So that means if this is an arch, it is hinged at both the ends. Therefore, we are having two hinges at the supports. Therefore, the name is two-hinged arch. Okay. So next is three-hinged arch. So for the same two-hinged arch, okay, so for the same two-hinged arch, if an internal hinge is provided on any other point of the arch, it is called as a three-hinged arch. Okay, so apart from the two hinges at the supports, we have an internal hinge on the rib of the arch. Therefore, the name is three-hinged arch. Next is fixed arch. So the arch is fixed at both the ends. As the name suggests, it is fixed at both the ends. Therefore, it is called as fixed arch. Next, we have the classification of arches on the basis of shape of the structure. Okay, in that we have circular arch. Again, the circular arch is subdivided into segmental arch. Okay, the segmental arch may be a segment of an arch. That why it is called a segmental arch means the arch shape will be a part of a circular arch. Okay, so either that is why it is called as a segment of an arch or segment of a circle, or it may be in the shape of an arc of a circle. Okay, so it will not be a complete semicircle or full circle. It will be just a part of a circle. Therefore, it is called as a segmental arch. Next, we have semicircular arch, wherein the shape is exactly half circle. Okay, so it is semicircular in shape. Therefore, the name is semicircular arch. Next, we have parabolic arch. The shape of the arch will be in the form of a parabola. Therefore, it is parabolic arch. And then we have an elliptical arch. The shape will be in the form of an ellipse. Okay, therefore it is called as an elliptical arch. Okay, this is about the types of arches. Next, for your syllabus, we have got three-hinged arch. Okay, so three-hinged circular arch and three-hinged parabolic arch. Okay, so first now we will take up a three-hinged arch. Okay, so this is an arch. Okay, and these points are the springing points. Okay, so these are the springing points, the points from which the curve springs or curve emerges, arch emerges is called as springing points. Okay, so let A and B be the two springing points. So these are the springing points. Okay, and then springing line. Okay, if you draw an imaginary line which joins A and B, that is the two springing points, which joins the two springing points, that line is called as springing level, or that level is called as springing line or springing level. Next, crown of an arch. The crown, this is the highest point. It is the highest point or the peak point on the rib of the arch is called as crown of the arch. Okay, so let us take it as C. So this is the highest point for this arch. Therefore, this is taken as crown of the arch. The crown of the arch is nothing but the highest or the peak point on the rib of the arch. Next, we have rise of an arch. So rise is the vertical clear distance between the springing line or the springing level to the crown. This is the rise, the vertical clear distance between the crown and the springing line, that is called as rise of the arch. Next we have span of the arch. It is the clear horizontal distance between the two springing points is called as span, okay, or the distance between the two supports. Okay, so normally the supports will be provided at the springing points only, so it is the clear distance between the supports or between the abutments or between the two springing points. It is called as span of the arch. Okay, it is designated as L, where span is designated as L, whereas rise is designated as H. Okay, so this is normally, I have told you that it is normally supported at the springing points. So these are the supports, external hinges provided at the two springing points, and one more hinge, as I have already told, is provided at the other point. Okay, it may be provided anywhere on the rib of the arch, but normally this third hinge or the internal hinge is provided at the crown of the arch. Therefore it is named as three-hinged arch. Why? 1, 2 and 3. Three hinges are there, therefore it is called as a three-hinged arch. Okay, so now what do you mean by horizontal thrust? As I have already told, you have to apply the horizontal reactions. Therefore, when the hinges are provided at the supports, definitely there exists horizontal reactions. So this HA and HB, these are the horizontal components. Therefore, they are nothing but the horizontal thrust. The horizontal component of the reaction at the supports is called as horizontal thrust. Okay, so this is about a three-hinged arch with its different elements. Okay, so if you know what you mean by rise, span, crown, like that, then we can apply it to the analysis of arches. So next we will take a look at the different conditions of equilibrium that we are going to apply. So if you have a look here, so we have hinge at the two supports. So definitely there will be a vertical reaction VA, VB and horizontal reaction HA, HB. Okay, so since it is an internal hinge, there will not be any reactive components. Only bending moment will be 0 at this point at the internal hinge. Okay, so therefore the force type, the force system will be a non-concurrent force system. Okay, so therefore the conditions of equilibrium for non-concurrent force system will be, we have already know that there are three conditions of equilibrium for non-concurrent force system, that is sigma fx equals 0, sigma fy equals 0 and sigma m equals 0. What is sigma fx equals 0? Algebraic summation of forces acting along x direction is taken as 0, and sigma fy is equal to 0 means algebraic summation of forces acting along y direction is taken as 0. It should be 0. Okay, and sigma m equals 0 means algebraic summation of moments at any point should be equal to 0. So okay, these are the three conditions of equilibrium that we use to apply for non-concurrent force system. Apart from this, okay, so you can have a look here. So these two are hinges, so there will be two reactive components at A and two reactive components at B. Okay, so total unknowns will be 4. Okay, so how many conditions of equilibrium we need? We need 4 conditions to solve the unknowns. Okay, now we have got 3 conditions here for this non-concurrent force system. Apart from these 3, we have to have one more additional equation so that we can solve the unknowns. What is that additional equation? Is the compatibility equation of bending moment at the internal hinge, that is C, is it should be 0. Okay, so that is the additional equation that we are having, so that the 4 unknowns are there and 4 conditions are available with us. So this becomes a determinate structure. Okay, a 3-hinged arch is a determinate structure. Okay, using these 4 equations you have to find the reactive components. Okay, apart from the 3 equilibrium conditions, you have to apply this additional condition of bending moment at the crown or at the C, the third hinge. It should be equal to 0. Okay, So these are the conditions of equilibrium. And then what is the sign convention we follow? So normal usual sign convention will be followed in the analysis. So that is, the forces acting along positive x direction are taken as positive, and the forces acting in the upward direction are taken as positive, and the moments acting in the clockwise direction are taken as positive, and apart from that, the sagging bending moment are taken as positive. Okay, the forces or the moments which cause the beam to sag in the downward direction, those moments are taken as positive, and hogging bending moment will be taken as negative. Okay, so if you have a moment in this fashion, so that the beam tends to hog in the upward direction like this, okay, then those moments will be taken as negative. Okay, that is the sign convention will be followed in the analysis of arches. Next, we have these new terms of normal thrust and radial shear. It is just like axial force and shear force in case of a conventional beam. It is renamed, or it is none other than normal thrust and radial shear in case of arches. Okay, so let us take a segment of an arch. Okay, so let us consider a part of an arch like this. This is the part of an arch, wherein if we consider this as any section, I have to find normal thrust and radial shear at somewhere this point. Okay, so consider the arch up to that level. Okay, apply the with all the applied forces and reactive components. Okay, and then at the point where you need the normal thrust and radial shear, you draw a tangent at that point. Okay, so this is the direction of normal thrust. The tangent drawn at the point is the direction of normal thrust. What is then normal thrust means? This is the direction of normal thrust. Okay, so that means the forces along this direction are taken as positive. Okay, and in some books it may be in the other direction. Okay, so it depends on how you take. Okay, so whatever you take the direction, the final answer will be same. Okay, and if you draw a perpendicular line to this tangent, so that gives the direction of radial shear. Okay, so this is the direction of radial shear. Okay, so let us name it as N and R. N for normal thrust and R for radial shear. Okay, so at this point we have to find, what do you mean by the normal thrust? Means the forces acting along the direction of the tangent drawn at any point. Okay, if you take the forces acting along this direction drawn at any point on the rib of the arch or at any section of the arch, it is taken as normal thrust. And the forces acting along the direction perpendicular to this tangent is taken as radial shear. Okay, so radial shear is nothing but forces acting along the direction perpendicular to the tangent drawn at any section on the arch. Okay, so that is radial shear. This is the definition for normal thrust and radial shear. So how to find normal thrust and radial shear means, so we have considered any section. Okay, we have considered a part of an arch. Okay, we have considered a section at this point, or we have to find normal thrust and radial shear at this point. Okay, so after considering the reactive components on the applied loads, let us assume that this is the net horizontal force. Okay, so that means the reactive components along h direction or x direction and forces along x direction. If you take the algebraic summation, that will give the net horizontal force. Let us assume it is acting in this direction. Let h be the net horizontal force at any point and it is acting in this direction. Okay, and let v be the net vertical force. Okay, so that is the algebraic sum. Okay, summation of reactive components in vertical direction and forces acting in vertical direction. If you take the net force, okay, in vertical direction, so let us assume that let V be the net vertical force and it is acting in the downward direction. Okay, so that means H and V are the net horizontal and vertical forces at any section where we need normal thrust and radial shear. Okay, so let theta be the inclination of H and V with respect to normal thrust and radial shear. So H is making an angle of theta with respect to normal thrust and V is making an angle of theta with respect to radial shear. Okay. So now to find the components along N and R, you have to resolve the forces H and V along N and R. Okay. So let us resolve the force H along the direction N and R. Okay. So H is making an angle theta with respect to N, therefore N component will be cos. Okay, so the components will be H cos theta, that is N component, normal thrust component of H is H cos theta and radial shear component of H is H sin theta. Okay, H is making an angle of theta with respect to N, therefore N component is H cos theta and the R component is H sin theta. Okay, so it is in this direction, that means it is in second quadrant, therefore it is the direction of components, resolved components are in this direction. Okay, and now if you resolve this V, okay, along N and R, so these are the direction of resolved components of V along N and R. So now V is making, net vertical force is making an angle of theta with respect to radial shear, therefore the radial shear component will be cos. Okay, so now the radial shear component is V cos theta and normal thrust component is V sin theta. Okay, so now normal thrust is nothing but the forces acting along the direction of the tangent, that is N. Okay, so the forces along N means H cos theta and V sin theta. Okay, so both are in the same direction, therefore normal thrust is equal to H cos theta plus V sin theta. You have to apply this equation to find the normal thrust and radial shear. Okay, and then radial shear. Okay, so radial shear is in this direction. Okay, so therefore V cos theta is in the same direction, whereas H sin theta is in the opposite direction. Therefore radial shear is equal to V cos theta minus H sin theta. Okay, this is a positive direction we have assumed, therefore it will be V cos theta minus H sin theta. So this becomes opposite, means it becomes negative. Okay, so V cos theta minus H sin theta. Okay, so these two equations you have to remember to calculate normal thrust and radial shear at any section on the rib of an arch. Okay, where H and V are net horizontal and vertical forces at any section, okay, where you need normal thrust and radial shear. Okay, so this is about normal thrust and radial shear, the definitions and the equations what we have to calculate, what we have to use to calculate normal thrust and radial shear. Okay, next the analysis of three-hinged arch. In case of a any beam, what you will do to analyze means you have to finally draw BMD and SFD. In the same fashion here also, to analyze a three-hinged arch, first you have to find the reactions and then draw BMD. Okay, so BMD is enough for the analysis in this case. In case of arches, no need to plot shear force diagram. Okay, only drawing of bending moment diagram is enough. Okay, and then apart from that, if it is asked in the question to find the normal thrust and radial shear, you have to find normal thrust and radial shear. If it is not asked in the question, no need to calculate normal thrust and radial shear. Okay, so these three components are included in analysis of three-hinged arch. Okay, these three components have to be applied for which type of three-hinged arch? for your syllabus, we have 3-hinged circular arch and 3-hinged parabolic arch. Okay. So this analysis is to be applied for the analysis of 3-hinged circular arch which supports at same level. That means if this is an arch, the supports will be at the same level. Okay, like this. And 3-hinged circular arch which supports at different level, like this. It may be like this. Okay, one support may be at the higher position and the other support may be at the lower position, like that. That is the analysis of 3-hinged circular arch which supports at different level. Next, 3-hinged parabolic arch which supports at same level, same thing. Okay. So next, 3-hinged parabolic arch which supports at different level. So you have to apply this for the analysis of 3-hinged circular arch and parabolic arch which supports at same and different levels. Okay. So that is about the analysis of 3-hinged arch, how to analyze the 3-hinged arch. Okay. In the next sessions, we will take up numerical problems on 3-hinged circular arch which supports at same level. Okay. So that is about for today's class or today's session. Okay. So in this session, we have been learned about definition of an arch. Okay, which is a curved beam with convexity upwards. Okay, and different types of arches based on materials of construction, structural behavior, and the shape of the arch, and then the sign convention to be followed, and the application of equilibrium conditions, and the analysis for which we have to apply these equations. Okay, so that is about today's session. So thank you for your patience listening. Okay, so that is that ends up the session 1. In the next session, we will take up 3-hinged circular arch which supports at same level. Okay, thank you.